You're watching Newsday TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Bufa. All year long, Newsday's team of journalists work to bring you stories you won't see anywhere else. These investigations focus on our schools, politicians, and issues that have a big impact on your wallet. Now we're going to share some of the biggest exclusive stories from 2024 and look ahead at what could happen in the new year. Like in Nassau, nearly 24 drums containing toxic material were dug up from Bethpage Community Park. The property used to be a dumping ground for the former Grumman Corporation. A Newsday investigation revealed state regulators failed to properly investigate reports of drums being buried at the site.
We found a whistleblower who had, back 8 years ago had said, that he had heard there were buried drums under there. The state did a very cursory investigation and then concluded the, quote, buried drums do not exist under the park. So when they did end up existing, we went down and found the whistleblower down in Florida and talked to him and just kind of got to see the, the shock and the, kind of just the anger on his face when he read kind of how he was brushed off.
Now, in the new year, officials are supposed to continue searching for anything else buried at the park. The ball field area has been closed for 22 years.
They continue to not have a public space that they pay for as taxpayers. It's kind of become a symbol of the entire contamination saga in Bethpage because Grumman was once beloved there. Employed tens of thousands of people in Bethpage, and once they went out and they left behind this mess, it kind of became just all about the contamination and the groundwater and is the water safe to drink and worries about health.
A Newsday exclusive investigation found Long Island school districts owe more than $190 million to settle or fight sexual abuse lawsuits. The Bayshore School District faced 45 lawsuits, the most on Long Island, all of them linked to former teacher Thomas Bernagozzi. Former students claim Bernagozzi sexually abused them while working for the district for 3 decades. So far, the district has paid $55 million to settle 17 cases. Now, Bernagozzi is awaiting a criminal trial after being charged with sodomy and sexual conduct against the child. He's pleaded not guilty. Newsday investigative reporter Jim Bombach tells us what comes next.
Going forward, it's just following these cases through, both from the perspective of justice for the people who say they had this suffered to them, but also from the community aspect, because the people in the community have expressed to us that they want to know how are our schools safer than what was alleged in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, but also how is this going to impact us financially.
Now this year, a Newsday investigation revealed that since 1976, more than 100 women have been found dead outdoors, many of them murdered and their killers never arrested. Investigative reporter Sandra Petty compared FBI database numbers to Newsday archives to identify most of the victims.
This story began with an FBI database because all homicides are supposed to be reported to the FBI. But there were no names. There were just some identifying details. So I had to match up each line in the database to a person. But then as you do that, you start to see the stories and you start to see the untold stories and you realize we have to do more. So we're going to look at more cold cases.
Now, our reporting found that the Nassau and Suffolk police departments have not staffed cold case units in recent years. To fill the gap, the district attorneys in both counties created their own cold case units. And it was a monumental year in politics. Republican Donald Trump will take office once again on January 20th. Newsday brought you minute-by-minute live coverage on election night of what was going on across the nation and in local races. Both counties went red in the presidential race. It's the first time that's happened in Nassau in more than 3 decades. Newsday columnist Joy Brown tells us what this could mean for Long Islanders in the coming year.
We have a lot of Republican officials in place here. We have a lot of Republicans who are going to be in place in Washington, D.C., including Lee Zeldin. I mean, what can a cabinet position in the Department of Environmental Protection do for Long Island at a time where we have storms and all kinds of other things going on here? These are big bonuses for Long Island. Also, remember, Donald Trump came to Nassau Coliseum and said that he would get rid of the salt tax. Let's see if that happens as well. So I think we're pretty well positioned to try to get what we need and maybe even what Long Island wants out of Washington.
Now, it was also the end of an era for some beloved Long Island restaurants. After nearly 100 years, West Hampton's Casa Basso served its last meal. In Floral Park, family-owned Stella Ristorante closed its doors. But when one door closes, another opens, especially when it comes to brunch. Foodies in Westbury welcomed The Shed. Valley Stream received a boozy brunch party spot called 32 North. And a former diner is serving up French toast fondue and espresso martini flights at Twisted Fork in Belmore. Newsday's Feed Me team is giving us an exclusive look at what's coming to Long Island in 2025.
One of the biggest openings next year is actually a reopening, Louie's, which has been right on the water in Port Washington since 1905, closed in the fall for a renovation. The guy who owns it, Jerry Sbarro, also owns Rothman's and Mateo's, and if you know those places, they are very good-looking places. So he's going to give Louie's a thorough renovation. There's still going to be plenty of outdoor seating, still going to be that big pier into Manhasset Bay, but a bit more upscale. And then if we can go back to brunch, Toast, one of Long Island's brunch champions, they've got places in Port Jefferson Station and Bayshore and Long Beach and Patchogue. They're opening up something in East Setauket called The Study by Toast. I think it's going to be Toast-like, but it's going to be bigger, and I think they're going to be doing a lot of the cooking for the other parts of the chain right there in East Setauket.
Now, Newsday will continue to bring you the latest local stories that you can't find anywhere else in 2025. We are wishing you a happy and healthy new year. I'm Ken Bufa. Thank you so much for joining us.